Welcome back to Cartoon and Traders Nation. My pleasure to have back with us once again best-selling book author Mike Evans. This time it's Jimmy Carter, the liberal left, and world chaos. Mike, welcome back to Traders Nation. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good. Mike, is it entirely possible to have peace in the Holy Land?
No, it's not possible to have peace in the Holy Land, but the question is, at what price?
Right.
I mean, I want to have peace.
Yeah.
I don't want America to be sucked into an abyss.
Yeah.
And that's precisely the problem. You got Hillary Clinton over there right now doing the mating dance.
Sure.
The liberal left mating dance with liberals, lunatics, and liars, bigots, saying, listen, we need to stop the cycle of violence, which in essence means give up East Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, to Hamas and Hezbollah, and we can all live happily ever after.
Yeah, and isn't that delusional? We're looking to throw hundreds of millions of dollars into rebuilding Gaza, and they're saying, well, that's not going to go to Hamas. What kind of insanity is that, Mike? Because let's face it, Hamas controls everything, and you better bet they're going to get their hands on that money, and they're just going to use it against our allies. I just don't get it.
Well, I get it. That's why I wrote the book, Jimmy Carter, The Liberal Left and World Chaos. When I met with the President of France, in a personal exclusive interview, he told me that Carter was a bastard of conscience. Now, that's pretty bad when the President of France calls you a bastard of conscience.
How could they outdo France?
Yeah, and he told me that Jimmy Carter met with him, the German Chancellor, and the British Prime Minister, and told him that he was going to overthrow our Muslim ally, the Shah of Iran, and put in a Gandhi-like figure, Khomeini.
Crazy. All right. Why is Jimmy Carter out there giving away country secrets? For instance, good example, Israel. How many nuclear weapons does Israel have? We all know now.
Well, Jimmy Carter is in bed with the terrorist organizations because he believes that they are actually liberation movements that haven't matured. They just need more funding and more education. He calls them little George Washingtons.
Yeah, is he losing his mind? I mean, let's be serious here. How can this person go around the world defacing America and crawling in bed with America's enemies for the sake of what?
Well, listen, it started with the liberal hippies of the 60s.
Yeah, and now they're running our government.
They're running the State Department, the White House, the arts, the media, the universities, and they're dumbing down Americans.
Yeah.
And it's the same Timothy O'Leary crowd that reject God. They reject moral clarity.
Sure.
And they're celebrating now. Listen, they're not pro-American.
Yeah.
Their God is secular humanism.
Yeah. All right, that's scary. Now, is there a plan at all? I mean, is there one that would be, for instance, maybe splitting up Jerusalem?
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Carter's completely in support of dividing the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, by the way, I've been over 70 times.
Yeah.
The gentleman who's prime minister now, I recommended him for his first job, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes.
Hillary will meet with him in the morning. But Jimmy Carter's plan is to take Christian East Jerusalem, which is the site of all the Christian holy sites, and turn that over to Islam and make it an Islamic capital.
Yep.
Now, you know what that means? That means that a Christian that shares their faith gets beheaded.
Yeah. Mike, if you were a fly in the wall, or if I was a fly in the wall, what would Hillary Clinton expect to hear from Netanyahu?
Oh, my. I know the answer to that question.
I would love to be there.
Yeah. Basically, Hillary's going to say to Netanyahu, listen, I've been telling you this ever since we were in the White House. I've been telling you that you've got to respond. You've got to stop the cycle of violence by doing this. Now you have no choice. Now there's a president who's supporting it. There's a House that's supporting it. And if you want to survive economically, you're going to just have to, accept the rules of the game.
Yeah, but Netanyahu marches his own drumbeat. He's not going to put up with that kind of talk from her.
You're absolutely right, because, listen, Bibi, I call him Bibi, Bibi's brother was shot in the back leading the Entebbe raid to Uganda.
Right.
I was at the home grieving with the family. Netanyahu went into politics over the death of his brother. He believes in moral clarity. He believes that it's not what we do, the reason they hate us, it's because of who we are.
Right.
And Hillary believes it's what we do. She thinks, well, you just do something different and they'll like you.
Right. It's impossible. The ideologies are so radical away from each other. That's just not entirely possible. All right, so we know that if we bow down to the radical Islamics, we know that is a sign of surrender. Netanyahu knows that it's a sign of surrender and weakness. And also the enemies. Let's face it; they know it's a sign of weakness. They'll take advantage of it. Why doesn't our administration know that?
Because their worldview is that this is not a war. They don't see terrorism as a war. They see it as a police action. They don't believe in preemption. It's an ideological liberal left belief system that they embrace, that there is no evil, that these are not evil people, and that really the evil one is us.
All right, I think, again, back down to the 60s hippies, I think they're still on dope. All right, so let's talk about, in your book, Jimmy Carter and the Liberal Left, you say that they plan to sell America and the Bible land the highest bidder. How is that possible?
Well, they started doing it in the 70s. I was with Izzar Harel in 1979, actually 1980, September 23rd, founder of Mossad Israeli Intelligence. He told me this.
Right.
He told me Jimmy Carter's going to get Sadat assassinated. He said Jimmy Carter is funding the Muslim Brotherhood, and that if he keeps funding them, Sadat, I didn't know what he was talking about, but I found out later.
Sure.
He gave $50 million to the Muslim Brotherhood to start an organization called the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and Osama was on the payroll.
Right.
Hello?
Yeah, all right. You know, there's actually some buzz going around right now that Obama's administration is going to allow eminent domain rights to China to back up their loans to us, to U.S. properties. I don't know if you're hearing anything like that, but it almost sounds along the lines of what we just talked about.
Listen, Farah Pahlavi, the Empress of Iran, the wife of the Shah, who was overthrown by Carter and his plan, she told me, when he was elected, my husband said, who knows what horror will come upon the world? Yeah. She said, I'm afraid that he's going to pressure us to release these radicals in prison, and if he does, they could destabilize this country, Iran. The Russians could invade Afghanistan, Iraq could invade us, and all hell will break loose. Hello, that's precisely what happened.
All right, now, Mike, if there's one thing in Jimmy Carter, the liberal left, and world chaos that really stands out, you want everybody to know about it, what would it be, Mike?
That George Ball, I met with Ahmadinejad's people in New York, and I said, what do you think of George Ball? He said, how do you know about the Ball report? George Ball gave a report to Carter on why he should overthrow Iran and put in a cleric who he thought is a Khomeini-like figure. Now, the reason I wrote this book, and it's a bestseller, by the way, this is my 4th New York Times bestseller.
Excellent.
My last one was #1. And movies being made into the book, they can go to CarterBookTV.com and get the airtime schedule.
Nice.
But the reason I wrote this book is because the American people are fundamentally solid as a rock, and if they know the truth, they can do something about it. If they don't, the same thing we're seeing happen economically in the country is going to happen in the term of globalism.
Right.
We're going to have the United States of Europe, and the Middle East is going to pay dearly for it if we don't wake up quick.
Mike, some people argue, and I argue with liberals all the time, they claim to be Republicans, they're saying, we're in a global economy, we have to think global, they call me ancient, they call me brass-knuckle conservative, they call me every name under the book. Is there an argument to that?
Well, sure there's an argument. Listen, these people are fundamentally racist.
Yeah.
They're fundamentally bigots.
All right.
And they're ignorant of evil.
All right.
You meet any Jew that's been killed in Israel, their families, and say, why was this little girl killed? And they'll tell you the same thing, for being a Jew.
All right, so Mike, globalization is fine on world trade, but listen, we don't want to be under the guise of a UN council or court, do we? We still want to be a sovereign nation, don't we, Mike?
The State Department doesn't want us to be, and neither does Hillary Clinton and the New Age hippies. They don't want us to be.
That's insane. It's insane. We have our sovereignty. That's probably the only thing we got left in this country. Mike, where can we find a copy of Jimmy Carter today? Barnes & Noble, Amazon?
Amazon, or they can go right to my site, Jimmy Carter Book TV. They can read the book. Excellent. It's right on the site.